Hi again, welcome to another video session. So in this video session, as a part of summary and as a part of my personal experience and based on study of lot of literature, studying Stack Overflow threads, Quora threads and various developer forums, I am summarizing here some of the best known tips and tricks to improve your programming skill in 7 steps. So let us look at what exactly these 7 steps are, and they are highly effective in improving your programming skills gradually. So let us look at step 1. In step 1 it is expected that as a beginner or as a novice student who is intending to develop a good skills in programming, as a step 1 it is very important that you have a good hold on syntax of at least one programming language. So before you go ahead and begin your journey to become a master in a programming or in a coding, competitive coding or in a coding skills, it's very important that you have a good expertise with the syntax of at least one programming language. So during this, what exactly matters a lot, right? So it's very important that you know the syntax and semantics of the language which you have chosen very well. So you need to be very well aware about how the syntactic features and how the semantics of the constructs of that language work. For example, how the switch statement works, how do the function calls, the recursion, the object-oriented programming style, some of the concepts like operating overloading, the operators, the short circuit nature of logical operators. So that's what we expect anyone to have a good hold on a syntax. And what else you need to know is you need to also know and have a good acquaintance or be well aware about the built-in functions and utility functions and libraries provided by the language. So why do they help you? Because they help you in writing less code and having a better way of achieving some functionality, because these built-in functions and utility functions are very well written and well built, and they're most often good developers always prefer to use them instead of writing their own. So it's highly recommended that you as a step 1, when you are building your proficiency in the syntax of a language, you spend a good amount of time in understanding the built-in functions and exploring various utility functions and libraries of that language. And it's also recommended that you use a good IDE specific to your language, and it's always a better if your IDE comes with some kind of auto completion and intelligence, which is nowadays almost a normal, and every IDE comes with that. So it helps you write code quickly, it helps you make less errors, it gives you syntax highlighting, and it structures your code well. So that's how a good IDE plays a very important role in helping you master the syntax of the language which you choose. So step 1 was having a good hold on a syntax of at least one language. So what is step 2? Let us look at step 2. Step 2 is where you need to practice. Now that in a step 1 you have a good hold of syntactic features and semantics of a language, it's now time to practice problems. So when we say you as a student you need to practice problems, what exactly we expect? So while practicing problems, it's expected that you at least solve 3 to 5 problems a week, and while solving these 3 to 5 problems a week, it's better you start with easier problems first and then go to medium. So it's always important that you first solve easier problems. It is always enticing to student to jump to a higher level and more higher level, but remember, practice all the easier problems first. Build some confidence in yourself. Practice easier problems and then move to medium level problems. And during your practice, you need to keep note of the mistakes which you keep doing while solving these problems. So the purpose of keeping note of these errors and silly mistakes, which most probably are some kind of simple logical error, or misplaced else, misplaced if condition, simple syntactic errors, or wrongly using a programming context wrongly under a wrong semantics. For example, making a improper function call, or for example passing values by a reference where if it is expected the value be passed as a pass by values. So such kind of simple mistakes, you need to keep note of them, and the purpose of keeping note of them is to make sure you do not repeat them often. So practice easier problems to make sure you tend to make less and less silly and common mistakes, and do not repeat the errors and mistakes. That should be objective when you're practicing easier problems, where you will be practicing 3 to 5 problems a week. So now that as a second step you started practicing problem, what is the third step? And third step is you should now start debugging the programs. As I said, it's one of the most neglected skill, but it's also the most crucial ones, which helps you in building the logic. As I said that during debugging of your problems, it's highly advisable to our students that when you're practicing a problem, you start debugging the problems. And while trying to debug the problems, your approach or your focus or your objective to debug the program should be structured around these two objects. What are those? While debugging, see how well you are able to identify the cause, or how quickly you are able to identify what exactly and what and where exactly you went wrong. More the quick you do, you can identify what's the cause for your bug. It's more an indication that you are successfully going to a journey which will make you proficient in a good coding and programming environment. At the same time, make sure you make a very effective use of debugging tools, especially using breakpoints, watch windows, and expressions. Also, it's a skill that you place proper breakpoints. So once again, IDE makes a very major role here. So try to debug using the IDEs which you have chosen for your chosen language. And during debugging, you should also try to extend an incorrect or a partial solution. Maybe on some forum you might have found an impartial solution, or some of your friend has approached to you that okay, he is not able to execute the code, or he is not getting expected output. That would be very better and a good chance for you to take up that problem and solve it to get a complete solution. Mark my words, this is something very important, sometimes even than designing your own logic. So trying to read someone else's problem, understanding the logic and building and correcting it, it's almost equivalent to solving 3 or 4 problems on your own. So it's very important that you debug the problems, and while debugging, your focus should be based on these points. And as I said, while debugging, you will be also learning how to read the code and start grasping the logic to debug the program. And as and when you start understanding how to read the code and understanding the logic, your brain subconsciously learns to develop a new logic and build upon partial or to build upon incorrect solutions by correcting it. And as I said, make this a practice. For every problem which you keep on practicing a week, as I said, 3 to 5 problems a week, try to debug it. You get an error, debug it, and fix those errors by properly following these debug problems. So fourth, as a quick revision, we have fixed the language, we know the syntax, we practice problems, we debug problems. So fourth step is to practice it more smartly. What exactly we mean by practice smartly? Right, we said that we need to practice 3 to 5 problems a week, but there is something called a smart practice. What exactly it is? See, You need to solve easier problems first and gradually move to medium and hard ones. This strategy itself fits into a concept of smartly practicing. Rather than randomly choosing problems and solving them, it's better you choose easier ones first, develop some skills and confidence, move to medium problems, solve them, and then move to harder ones. And other times, the purpose of practicing smartly is during solving your problems, solve problems based on similar pattern. Maybe let's suppose you got a solution to a problem by applying some kind of search technique to a problem. The moment you have solved it, try to find out a medium problem which is also based on application of search technique. So work on similar pattern and extension of that problem rather than trying to solve completely different problem. Right? This is called a smart practicing. Instead of solving 10 random problems, solving 3 problems smartly, there is more to learn in this rather than solving 10 random problems. Fine. So you need to work on similar patterns. Identify, as I said, solve all tree based problems first, then solve all hashing based problems, then solve all array based problems, then graph based problems. That's how you move ahead. And when we talk about graph based problems or any subcategory based, in graph, for example, you want to build your skill in using data structure graphs well. So you'll start with the easiest problem in graph, then medium problem, then hard. Right? Rather than solving one graph, one tree, one linked list, one array, rather than that, better you keep on practicing in a similar pattern based problem. It's very helpful. It helps you in cementing the patterns and extensions of our problems. And during solving that, you need to keep note of patterns and problem solving approach. And most often in a competitive programming world, if I talk about a normal stage or a normal stage problem, then most often these problems, they come onto some kind of pattern. Either that problem is tree based patterns, and that the moment you are able to identify the pattern of that problem, half solution is done. So while practicing, keep note of patterns. And the most important thing in practicing smartly is that your focus should be on solving more variety of patterns and more variety of problem solving approaches rather than variety of problems. As I said, instead of solving 100 problems which are based on 100 random problems, it's far more less effective than solving 10 problems of 3 patterns. As I said, your focus should be on solving more variety of patterns, more variety of problem solving approaches rather than variety of problems. I hope this is clear. If it is not clear, put your questions in comments for this video. I'll try my best to answer your queries and questions. So I hope you have now understood what exactly we mean by practicing smartly. Now, moving ahead, the 5th step, you should also know how to read the solution of problems. We did discuss this topic while debugging the problems, but here we will exclusively see what exactly is that. See, you know you are practicing and all that. Remember, sometimes we cannot practice all 500 problems or thousands or whatever problems. Sometimes you need to just guess the solution and read the solution. Even reading solution is also a great, which helps you by greatly adding your logic design capability. So during reading your programs, it's expected that you read solutions to a problem already available. And most often you will always find various versions of a solution on some platforms like LeetCode, CodeChef, CodeForces, and there are a lot of forums and a lot of blog articles where people discuss solution. So as and when you become more and more comfortable with programming, more quickly you can understand the logic. So think of a use case where if you are able to understand someone else's code by reading it, it means that you already mastered and you have achieved some kind of proficiency. So keep a habit of reading the solutions and understanding it. And when I say, when you're reading the solution, the purpose is not to copy the program as it is. The purpose of it is to understand the logic and try to improvise it, like try to improve it. Maybe the logic which you might have read is O of n square. See if you can make it as n log n. See if you can make log n. That's how your objective of reading the program solution should be. And most often very often you will encounter a lot of solutions on sites like LeetCode, discussion forums. It's important that you read and understand various solution approaches suggested by other users. And this greatly helps. Remember, this greatly helps. So reading 3 problems is almost equivalent to practicing them as well. At some point of time, when you develop some set of proficiencies, reading program itself helps you keep this practicing activity fresh in your minds. And 6, very important, you should be able to discuss your solution with your peers, and I personally encourage this a lot. So maybe you and your friends may be sitting together, you're practicing, or you may be practicing individually or alone. But at the end of the day, it is always important you discuss your logic to a specific problem to your friend. He might discuss his logic, and it's always better when you like-minded people come together and discuss the logics, because collaboratively lot optimizations can be discussed, lot of various creativity appears, and you will also learn, and your thinking too will not become a rigid way of thinking. So you start getting inputs from others' way of logic building and your own way of logic building, and you start becoming more and more creative, so you can write more creative solutions. And especially while discussing your solution, make sure that your solution to a problem with a peer, and ask him or her for a feedback. If he's it's better he be at your own level or highly more skilled than you, so that you get a quality feedback then, and try to incorporate in your solution. And at the same time, if you succeed in helping your friend achieve his solution where he is stuck, and you both started working together and somehow you were able to give a solution, that's also a big addition to you. So it's not that always you seek solution, you can even provide a solution to some of the other your peers' problem, and it helps a lot. And in the end, the sole purpose of discussing solution is to always develop a skill to guess a solution based on hints. And as and when you keep on advancing, give a shot at pair programming. In short, a pair program is nothing but when 2 or more people they together start writing that. So it could be a case that your friend discusses half logic, then you write a code, and then you discuss a further logic and your friend writes a code. So that helps you switch context and start thinking a little bit more creatively, and understands someone else's way of thinking, which collaboratively helps you develop your programming skill in overall fashion. And what's the last step? Yes, the very important last step is that, what are the step 1 to 6 which you have seen? The last step is that you have to keep on doing this. No matter, you might feel it difficult at the beginning, but as everyone says, consistency beats the intensity. So think of this in this way. You have been practicing for 100 days. The concept, the skill, the learning, the improvement which you achieve, that can't be achieved in say a week. Maybe every day you are spending 1 hour for this activity, and think of spending 24 continuous hours spending this activity. So consistency will help you improve your programming skill far more better than practicing intensively on just few days a year, right? So the sole purpose here is to tell that keep this regularity, do these steps consistently. It will definitely help you improve your programming skills. Fine. I think I have helped to you and hope these 7 steps will help you improve programming. Any questions, any suggestions, you want me to make more such videos, any creative ideas you want to discuss, any other step which you feel is in addition to this, feel free to discuss this in comments. Thank you.